The champ is here. Terence Crawford joins us right now. Good morning. How you doing?
The champ is here.
Great. Going great.
I appreciate you joining us now.
Yes.
That epic fight between you and Errol Spence Jr., it's hailed as one of the biggest nights in boxing history, and you dominated. How did that feel?
Man, it felt great, especially against the opponent that I was up against. The hype that's been surrounding that fight for 5 years. 5 years. The doubt that everybody had against me. And it just was wonderful to finally get that behind me.
So what's next? I mean, you know, there's a lot of matches that people want to see. Jermell Charlo is somebody that you've been calling out. He has a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Is that the next opponent that you want to get into the ring with?
Well, I don't know. Right now, I'm taking some time off and enjoying my victory. And,
well-deserved.
And seeing what's really on the table, and I'm going to go from there.
Okay.
Take the victory lap, Terence.
That's right.
Because in the doc, it was really great on Showtime. You said the better prepared man will be successful. And to you, there was no doubt in your mind, because Errol also thought that he was a better prepared man, too. How did you know? You had such confidence that there at the podium before the fight started, you said, there's going to be a fish fry tonight. It's like you were inviting everybody to
So
come
calm,
over.
Gayle.
Yeah, he was so calm, so confident. You knew you had this. How?
Well, I believe in myself and my abilities, and I know I train.
So did Errol. He believed himself in his abilities, yes.
I understand that. Everybody believes in themselves to step in the ring, but I knew deep down in my heart that I worked way harder than him. I just knew it. And I just knew my skills will overcome anything that I was faced at that.
And Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
In the face.
Spence had never lost, never been knocked down until that fight, and he said ahead of the fight that his plan was to break your will.
Ooh.
Clearly that did not work out. Where does that will come from, and how did it become so ironclad?
Well, I just think it's in me, not on me. You know, some things you're just born with, and I was born with the will to keep going no matter what.
Born not made?
Born not made.
Born not made. You give some of the credit to your mother, and I want to preface this with you and your mother have a very good relationship today. But I was reading the backstory about you, Terence, and it broke my heart, because it says that your mom, when you were a little boy, would pay kids to try to beat you up, and I say try because nobody ever did. She would pay them $10 to beat you up. She would never hug you. She would never say, I love you. She would never encourage you. This was all part of the way to make you tougher. Did that work for you? And how did you feel as a little kid?
Well, my mom, you know, she dealt with different traumas and
in her life.
Yeah, things in her life. So that what led her to be that way that she is. You know, I love my mom. I'm a mama's boy. And to hear the things that my mom used to say to me, and the little kids that she used to try to get to beat me
you up.
And with the gloves and stuff like that, it just made me more hungry.
More hungry?
You know, hungry. Like, man, my mom going against me, I'm going to prove her wrong. You know, my mom said I can't do this. I'm gonna go do it anyway because she don't believe in it.
She said I can't.
Yeah.
But did it make you angry?
Of course.
It did.
I was angry, but I feed off of that. You know, I feed off of the non-believers. I feed off of the people that say I can't do something when I believe I can. So I think that's something that she knew at an early age because I was so competitive at an early start in my youth. So I think she just used that to, you know,
to motivate you.
To motivate.
Now,
it
Terence,
broke my heart, though, Terence.
Yeah, well, I want to stay there for a second. Yeah. And like Gayle said, you guys have a good relationship right now. But the reason I want you to kind of dive a little bit deeper is because there are kids that are dealing with the same type of parenting. And they don't know why their mom or their dad doesn't validate them or tell them that they're proud of them. They look in the mirror and they don't feel full because they're not getting the same type of love. So what would be your advice to those kids that might be growing up in a similar circumstance as you?
I don't know. It's kind of hard because every kid is different.
Right.
You know, I still deal with childhood trauma from those moments, from me and my mom. And me and my mom, you know, we've talked, we've got into it about it. You know, it's heartbreaking because, you know, that's the woman that birthed you. That's my first love. You know, it's my mom. You know, and for her to treat me the way that she was treating me, You know, not because of she didn't love me, it's because of what she was dealt with.
Right.
Hurt
people hurt people.
Yeah, and it just like, I wouldn't wish that on no kid.
But now you're a father yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what kind of father you are in terms of, are you affectionate with your children? How many children do you have?
I have 7.
Are you affectionate with your children? Do you encourage your children? Do you tell your children you love them? Do you think the way you were raised is a way to raise children? I guess is a better question.
I wouldn't say that, you know, because me and my children is way different than the way I was brought up. My dad left when I was 1 year old. He was in the Navy. He'd come in and leave, so he really wasn't there.
You seem more active,
so
and loving and caring with your.
I'm there. I'm there for everything. You know, no matter what's the situation or circumstances. If I'm in training camp and my kid have a birthday or they have an event, I'm leaving training camp to be with my kids, because those moments only last one time.
For sure.
And they're gonna remember that, and they're gonna always remember, and they're gonna always be able to say, no matter what my dad was doing, he was always there.
Yeah.
So let's get back to boxing for a quick second before we get out of here. Will you go up to middleweight?
Junior middleweight.
Who you go up to junior middleweight? Yeah. I mean, to people that don't really know the sport, they think, oh, it's just a few pounds.
Yeah.
But 5, 10 pounds make a difference, a big difference. So would you go up to junior middleweight?
Of course.
He could do anything, Nate.
But
that's a fact.
What's it like to have a perfect record, 40? You've never lost. What is that like, and do you feel pressure to maintain this record? I
don't feel pressure.
You don't? Okay.
You know, I just feel as if I got a bullseye on my back now, because
that's a fact.
Once you're at the top of Mount Rushmore, everybody wants your position. So, you know, that makes me even more hungry, because I know they coming.
Terence Crawford, undisputed champ, greatest fighter in the world.
Bring it on.
Thank you very much.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings. Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie says the various investigations and indictments against former President Trump show he cannot be the party's candidate. Christie, as you know, is a former federal prosecutor and former New Jersey governor, and previously supported Donald Trump. But now he says one of the only reasons that the former president is running is to, quote, get away with significant crimes against the country. Chris Christie joins us now at the table to discuss. You know, welcome back. It's always good to have you here. You know, when Will Hurd said something similar to that, he got booed. So what is your game plan here? How do you reach the people that believe, listen, this is all just a smokescreen that Donald Trump is saying just to prevent him from getting elected? You said, why didn't they try this 2 years ago?
Well, look, you know, Gayle, you and I have known each other for a long time. If I changed my opinions based upon being booed, I would have no opinions left. I mean, I was a Republican in New Jersey, and so you have to know what you believe in your heart, and you got to go and make the argument. Leaders don't follow polls.
Yeah, I'm not saying that booing scares you, but people say this is not a winning argument. This is not a winning argument.
Look, I say this. New Manhattan Institute poll came out in New Hampshire this weekend. Has Donald Trump down to 34%, Ron DeSantis at 13%, me at 11%. You know, we are moving in different directions, Donald Trump and I. In 2 months, I've gone from 0 to 11. In a month and a half, he's gone in New Hampshire from 48 to 34. And that means that 2/3 of the Republican voters in New Hampshire, as polled right now, don't want him.
That's one state, however, right?
Big state, important state.
And I know you want to focus on New Hampshire. It is an important state, but the national polls suggest he is still doing quite well, even with the indictments. In fact, they seem to be helping him in some ways, particularly with fundraising. You're fundraising a fraction of what he is, and that has an impact on what you can do campaign-wise, with advertisements, with door knocks, with get out the vote.
Yeah, except that he's spending all of his money on legal fees. I'm not. I'm going to actually spend my money on campaigning. We know from the reports that just came out that he spent $40 million just the last quarter on legal fees, and that was before 2 more indictments came out. Look, he can't sustain it, and he's ripping people off. I mean, this is a grift. $108,000 for Melania's stylist in the campaign money he spent. It's called the political strategy consulting. All right, people are going to stop giving him that money. And as far as national polls go, if we had a national primary, I'd be really concerned, but we don't. We have one state at a time, and we're going to compete hard in those states, and we're doing well to go in 2 months. We announced 2 months ago today, and we are now a clear third place statistically and second in New Hampshire in 2 months. Ron DeSantis has been running since 2021.
Yeah, but Governor, even if you were to get over Donald Trump or past Donald Trump, you've got Ron DeSantis. He's running a culture war campaign in many ways, right? Anti-woke, taking on this idea that Democrats have hijacked the media and business, et cetera. You don't seem to be in that fight in anything like the same way. Why not?
It's going really well for him, isn't it? You know, that campaign is really taking off, really getting altitude. The guy is descending quickly. And I think it's because the American people look at this, and it's not that they're not bothered by some of these things. I want parents to be in control of their children's education. I don't want schools to be keeping parents out of if their children have issues about gender, if their children have those kind of issues, concerns, discussions. They shouldn't be keeping that from parents, and they shouldn't be running those decisions. Parents should. But is it a more important issue than whether people can pay for groceries and pay for the things that to heat their home and to run their cars? Is it a more important issue than what's going on in Ukraine right now and what that'll mean for the entire world? Is it a more important issue than the fact that our children's education, reading scores, a third of the kids in this country don't read at grade level of the entire country?
All fair, but I really don't see how you win Republican primaries without going further to the right on some of these culture issues.
Well, watch and I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
so like, you know, look, and the bottom line is that you have to be who you are. The truth matters. It matters. And we're now in a country where the truth is negotiable. And that's not where we need to be, and that's why we're in this
Speaking of
problem.
that truth, our poll showed that nearly 70% of Republicans don't believe that Biden legitimately won in 2020. So how do you run a campaign when your potential voters don't trust the system that you are running in?
Well, I think that's moving too, Nate, because people will continue to maintain that opinion, but I don't think it's going to affect what they do this time, right? And what I mean is, you even look at Ron DeSantis yesterday for the first time admitted that Joe Biden is the legitimate president and Donald Trump lost.
Took a while to get him there, though.
Well, but that's my point, right? In response to your statement, you know, he's now moving in a different direction. Why? Because it's the truth, and because when he goes out there and tries to sell the fact, Ron DeSantis...
Is that too little too late, though?
No, because, heck, Nate, it's August. That's like saying that, you know, any of the NFL teams that are in training camp right now, whatever they do, it's too little too late. And hell, man, it's not too little too late till December or January.
I hear what you're saying.
And so...
I'm picking up what you're
By the way, for the Mets, who I'm a board member of, it is now too little too late.
I was going to say.
That's official, so we can go there.
Selling
Too
people
little
off.
too late there.
You know, Governor, I'm so fascinated. You have someone who is a clear front runner. He's got 3 indictments. He's essentially sort of out on bail, if you will.
Not essentially. He's out on bail
He's out on
with
bail.
restrictions in 3 jurisdictions,
Yes.
and it's going to be 4 before we get on the debate stage in 2 weeks.
And he is the front-running candidate. So whether, you know, his lawyer says it's a matter of free speech, it's political speech. I wish you would define political speech. But I mean, even if you take all the illegal versus legal out of it, what about the conduct? I think about, you know, Donald Trump, for some people say, behave in a way that you don't want your children to behave, everything that you teach against your children. Yet he is still the front runner.
Well, that's the point. I think
we can't ignore that.
I think you're making a great point, and the reason I do is because it's the point I'm making every day.
Are you?
You and I agree. Is that put aside the legality. You know, I did this for 7 years. I was the U.S. attorney in the 5th largest office in this country.
But you supported him for a long time, Governor.
I did. Look, and I've said that it was a mistake.
Okay.
So, you know, we all make mistakes in life, and if you have to admit when you make mistakes, and I made one. But here's the thing. He left me, Gayle. I didn't leave him. He left me. He kept moving further and further into crazy land. And you're right about the legality or illegality. I think the New York indictment is flawed legally. But do we really want to support someone who pays off a porn star to keep her quiet while he's running for president because he had sex with her while he was married to his wife? Do we really want someone who takes classified documents, secrets of the United States, that put people's lives at risk, and keeps them at Mar-a-Lago so he can continue to pretend he's president and continue to show him around to people to act like a big shot? The conduct, the underlying conduct is the problem. I understand that people think there's 2 tiers of justice, but I will say this. They were wrong to not indict Hillary Clinton, in my view, and I said so at the time. And it has now set up this excuse for Donald Trump, but I'm not going to let him get away with it.
Yeah.
What he did is wrong. Whether it is illegal or not, it is morally wrong what he's done, especially January 6th.
Yeah. All right. And bottom line, you will never be to the right of Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, as you see it.
Not on the issues you're talking about, but let me say this. I'm going to be tougher with them on a lot of other issues, and I'm tougher on Ukraine and on China than either of them will ever be. And after having gone to Ukraine this week,
yeah, you just went.
The atrocities are breathtaking. 20,000 children, guys, kidnapped. Sent to Russia to be reprogrammed. Those parents don't know whether their children are alive or dead.
Why did you go there? People could say, look at him. It's a photo op for Chris Christie. Why did you go?
Wow. Listen, 60 hours of traveling for 11 hours on the ground. That's a pretty expensive photo op.
Say, into a war zone.
In the end, Gayle, I went because if you're going to be the American president who decides how to conduct our relationships with Ukraine from there, you need to look Vladimir Zelensky in the eye, which I did, and you need to go to places like Bucha, where there's 160 people in a shallow grave that were executed by barbaric Russian soldiers. Nate, this is the guy, Vladimir Putin, who's doing this, that Donald Trump calls an excellent leader and brilliant.
Yeah.
We're very different people, and I'll be a very different president.
All right. Governor Christie, thank you very much for being here.
I love being with you guys.
Thank you for acknowledging the Mets season is over,
unfortunately. Yes, it is. Unfortunately,
2024, maybe 2025 is our year.
You got it. We're ready.
We'll be back soon.
Two of Hollywood's most renowned filmmakers, Ron Howard and Ava DuVernay. They are teaming up to create the biggest hiring network in entertainment. Howard's Impact app, a professional hiring network for TV and film production, is joining forces with DuVernay's Array Crew, a personnel database that connects underrepresented candidates with producers and entertainment executives. The new partnership aims to make hiring in the entertainment industry more efficient and promote diversity and inclusion.
So how is this going to work? Here's how. The Impact Act will have an Array Crew profile badges for users who identify as a minority with respect to their gender identity, sexual identity, race, ethnicity, or other underrepresented backgrounds. Got that? So this can make it easier for directors and executives to hire diverse crews. We spoke with Ron Howard and Ava DuVernay yesterday. This was their first broadcast TV interview since making the announcement. Ava, I feel like you and Ron together are a 1-2 punch. I think the two of you joining forces together is going to make it so much harder for people to say, you know, we looked and we can't find anybody. What do you say?
It's really true. You know, we are an unlikely duo, I think some people might say, but it's quite perfect. Obviously, Ron is someone that I've admired forever. And sometimes he looks at me in the eye, Gayle, and I said, he's talking to me and he knows my name. And I get so excited.
But I know that feeling.
Same experience this morning.
I know that feeling.
So, Ron, how did this partnership come about? Did you guys cross paths? Did you rub elbows at an event? How did this happen?
I've known and admired Ava for years. So has Brian Grazer, my partner at Imagine Entertainment. And Tyler Mitchell, the guy who runs Impact, which is a program that we began 5 years ago with the idea of democratizing access to this business. And we just always felt like there was a very organic fit here. And all of us ultimately began having conversations and realized we could do even more together than we could individually.
That is beautiful.
I think so, too.
It's so competitive in the industry, and for them to say, for the greater good of the industry, let's work together.
Ava, I remember when you launched Array Crew back in 2021. What was your mission back then? And how will this make it better with the two of you working together? What was your mission back in 2021?
I'm getting calls all the time, Gayle, forever, from studios and networks, from directors and producers who are asking, Ava, we're looking to diversify our crew. Do you know a gaffer who's a woman? Do you know a brown person who is a script supervisor? And so I was always referring people to folk. I said, I need to build a list. Then we started building a list, and I said, why don't we just make it a formal database? And so it became very organic. But the idea is that when you walk onto these crews, as when you walk into any space, you want to see people of all kinds contributing to the story. It's so important for the way that we make film and television, and we found that people, studios and networks have really embraced the idea since Array launched in 2021.
So, Ron, on the point that Ava was just making about the way we make television and movies, you think that this partnership could address what you call development hell. I don't know, what is that for people who don't live through it?
Well, there are two facets to the of the sort of Impact mission. The first was Impact Development, which was about creating outreach to talented people to get their ideas developed and presented to the outside world. Hopefully a shortcut in development hell. In doing that, Brian Grazer, Tyler and I started talking and said, wait a minute, you know who needs this are the crew people. Because, you know, everyone always says, well, in this business you have to know somebody. Well, it's really even more so the case with below-the-line people, technicians, than it even is with people in front of the camera. And it over the years has always been kind of insular, because the period of time when the hiring happens is dynamic, it's fast. People always kind of go with who they know or the easiest choices. But there's so much more talent out there.
But Ron, you said something very interesting about people always go with who they know, because when you keep doing that, nothing ever changes.
That's the problem.
Because the people they know often look like them.
Right.
It's true.
So why is this so important to you? You were one of the most successful guys in Hollywood.
Well, because the world is changing, and the medium is changing, and frankly, we all look. I do this for I love the work, I love the environment, but it's also in service of a story and the audience. And who do you want? You want the most interesting, correct people to be telling those stories, not just in front of the camera, not just the director and writer, but also on a crew level, and just energizes everything.
Are either of you concerned about studios appear to be retreating from commitments to diversity? And I have to ask this specifically because in recent months, diversity chiefs that, listen to this, Walt Disney, Netflix, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Scientists, all black women have either resigned or they've been pushed out of their jobs. Is Hollywood still committed to this issue? This question is for both of you. Ava, would you go first?
Sure, absolutely. I don't think Hollywood is as committed as vigorously and passionately as it was a couple of years ago. I do think that on the crew side, people need to find great folks to do these jobs. And so it's a little bit different. We found not a drop in the engagement on the Array Crew app. Certainly because of the strike, there isn't as much production. But up until the strike, there was still a vigorous use of our platform, because when you got a job to fill and you got to find good people to fill it, you just need as many candidates as possible. So luckily on the crew side, we haven't seen a drop, but I acknowledge what you're talking about. It's a real issue.
Yeah, do you see it as an issue?
Yeah, I see the same issue. The other thing that I would just say, that on a practical level, and I think this is the real value of Impact and Array, is it also is going to serve a tremendous service for the filmmakers, the production people who have to put together a crew, because they're not going to just have to rely upon who they kind of know or who their friend knows or something. They're actually going to have a place to go and search and say, let's dig deeper. It's not going to take us weeks and months. We can do it just now if we just click on this button.
You know, of course, everything we're talking about here is ultimately in the service of storytelling. And Ava, you've been on the strike line. Storytelling is on pause right now because actors and writers are on strike. What is your message at this point? People are saying it's going to be a very long strike. What's your message to the studios?
Listen to what's being said by the folks that do the hard work every day. I think there's not enough real smooth communication happening right now. So I'd urge the studios to really open their hearts and listen to what's being said. There are economic stakes, we certainly know, but this is a human issue, and folks need to be able to survive and thrive, and we all should be able to do that. So we hope there's a quick resolution.
Ava, before you go, congratulations on being the first black woman.
That's right.
To have an official selection at the Venice Film Festival. I don't have a vote, but if I did, I'd be voting for you. That's number one. Number two.
The ice cream, please.
Lights, exclamation point. Caramel, exclamation point. Action, exclamation point.
And it's tasty.
It's tasty. It's Ava DuVernay. She's the first black woman to have her own pint at Ben & Jerry's. So you go, Ava DuVernay.
A lot of firsts.
That is enviable.
That right there.
You have me at Ben & Jerry's.
It's better than a sneaker line.
That's a fact.
Thank you so much, Ava, for joining us from L.A. Ron, Howard, thank you. Always good to see you both.
Appreciate it, guys.
Five-time Grammy winner. Not one, not two, not three, not four. 5 Grammy winners this guy has, Jon Batiste. He's also an Oscar winner, too, by the way. And his mission to empower the next generation of musicians. That's what he wants to do. Batiste recently surprised the students of the Brooklyn Music School and Jazz Standard Youth Orchestra. Both nonprofits teach music to underserved kids. Here's what Batiste told the students.
This is the beauty of music. I was young, and now I'm at this age right now. I'm 36, and I've been playing music now for so many years. I can remember when I first started, and I'm still learning. It's still a work in progress, and it's just about having fun, and the end result is not as important as the process. Everybody say that with me. The end result is not as important as the process. One more time. If you make something that's from your heart, somebody out there will feel it. Someone will connect to it, and it will be.
Whoa, I like that. One student, one lucky student, that 17-year-old Chris Lee even got the opportunity, whoa, to play the piano with the great Jon Batiste. And guess what? Jon Batiste and Chris Lee, hey, Chris Lee, are both here joining us in the studio. Welcome to you both. Jon Batiste, I swear to God, you are walking friggin' sunshine. He just walks in the studio, viewers.
Everybody.
And everybody
lifts up.
And he can't help himself. It's do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And you look over and there's Jon Batiste. Jon Batiste and Chris, we welcome you. We welcome you both. I like what you said. The end result is not as important as the process.
So good.
It's so good and so true. And if you make something from your heart, somebody out there will feel that.
That's right.
Tell us what you mean.
Well, you're making things.
No, it's true.
You're growing, you're making things as a musician, you're trying to get better, and you can get so focused on the end result that you miss the process, which is the creative process.
Yeah.
You're bringing something into the world. You're making something that will heal people or reach people at a time when they need it the most, and you don't even know what that is or why that is.
Yeah.
You just got to keep doing your thing, and that light in you is going to shine and catch somebody else. I saw Chris, we were hanging out there. Man, the moment we were playing, and I just looked around, I saw you and your bandmates, and I was just remembering when I was coming up. I enjoyed so much being with y'all. I saw the Brooklyn School walking in the neighborhood, and I didn't know what it was. But I wondered what's going on.
But Chris, I'm wondering about you from your point of view. So you're sitting in class, and Jon Batiste walks in. Take us that moment when you saw him. What happened?
So we were told like about a week before that there's going to be a mystery guest, and I didn't even know who it was. So I was like just really intrigued. And so the day of, I had to come late because I had to take an online college class. But when I got there, you know, I see him on stage. And then as soon as I get there, my band director, Jeff Newell, he's like, oh, like, Chris, you're here, like, come play the piano. And so, like, within seconds of me getting here, I'm, like, playing the piano, like, a song I haven't played before.
Wow. Whoa, were you nervous sitting next to him playing? Yeah.
I was pretty nervous, but I think it went well. I don't think it got in the way of my playing.
It did great. He was great.
Amazing. I'm telling you, that's one of the things I wanted to prepare everybody for, is the process. Just embrace the process. It's not about perfection. We're just in the room creating together. That's it. So that's what it's always going to be. For me, that's what it's going to be. And for all of us, that time when we're that inner child, we got to keep that, because when we're creating, that's what's happening.
Yes, you have such passion, Jon, for music. You have the same passion, Chris, for music?
Yeah, I do. I love music.
What does it mean to you?
You know, I was just thinking about this, because, like, I don't think it's as much something you can, like, define. It's like a feeling more, I guess. That's
you know, Jon, you're so right. There is a beauty in the journey. And if you tap into that, something special can come from that. But speaking of your journey, why is music education, the access to that, so important to you personally?
There were so many moments of epiphany that I had as a child growing up with incredible mentorship. My father being my first mentor, my mother inspired me to go into music, and then having these elders who dedicated their lives to staying in Louisiana, in New Orleans, to give to us what they had gathered on their journey.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of being for me. It's not even a way that I think is professional or vocational. It's more a way of life.
So in your DNA, really.
Yes.
It's it's so what you were meant and born and bred to do.
It's not what he does, it's who he is.
It's who he is. That's a better way to put it.
That's
a better way to put it.
Jon, the event ended with a love riot, which was not in the clip we showed. What is a love riot? Tell us about it.
We had fun, man. It's you know, it's one of these things we've been doing for many years, where we play. It's a musical processional.
I love this.
Similar to a second line, but you know, we started these in the subways and street corners of New York with my band Stay Human. And this is literally us going out with a crew of musicians and friends, and it starts to gather more people along the way. And by the end of it, sometimes the energy can feel almost riotous if you're far away.
Yeah.
When you get close, it's a love riot. it's connected.
And talk about the Love Ride. Can you just talk a little bit about your new music?
Ooh.
Because your new music is so great and it's so different. It's so many different genres all on one piece of music.
And Gayle, he described it as taking place in the interstellar regions of the universe.
It's so good, John.
Which means it's out of this world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's...
That's a good way to describe it, yes.
We played some of the music with Chris, and you know, it's really something that comes so deeply from my soul, and it's a concept album, and you're led through the album by an interstellar griot. There's a character that I play that guides you through the album, and his name is Billy Bob Bo Bob.
Yes.
But it goes all across the spectrum of music and culture, and really makes connections to joy, makes connections to lineage, and really connects people to ultimately their own humanity and others.
It's called Calling Your Name. Chris Lee, what has this experience meant to you? Calling your name.
Well, this whole experience was really, really special. Kind of the opportunity to play with a professional.
Yes.
The opportunity to, you know, have all this stuff that I can learn and take home and think about, especially that one quote, you know, not focusing on the end goal, but the process.
New York's leaders say they are struggling to house more than 57,000 asylum seekers currently in the city's care, more arriving every week. Some of those migrants without beds indoors have been sleeping on the streets. Mayor Eric Adams is now sounding the alarm and says he wants the federal government to take action. And Mayor Adams joins us right now. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yesterday you said you're on pace to spend $5 billion on migrant care in this fiscal year. To give people some perspective, that is more than the city spends on sanitation, parks, and the fire department combined. So you're asking for money here. Do I have that right?
A combination, more than money, because the faucet is flowing. We have to stop the faucet. We have to make sure we have a real decompression strategy at the border. And we have to ensure that we have real immigration reform, because it's going to continue. It's not sustainable. When you look at 10,000 a month, the math just does not add up.
Reform to the system is a long-term fix. That's going to have to go through Congress. Short-term, are you frustrated with the Biden administration? Do you place blame on them for a more welcoming stance that has led to this record surge?
There's a lot of blame to go around. Again, the Republicans have been blocking real immigration reform. We're seeing that FEMA is using dollars on the southern border to allow people to bus people to New York City. And what's at the heart of all of this for me is, what is more American than the right to work? Why are we having thousands of people here that are not given the basic premise? The precursor to sleep, to American dream, is the ability to work.
It's a 1996 law. It says you got to sit out for 5 months, right? You need that work.
And that's even with an asterisk, because even when you sit out for those 5 months, the backlog is so much. Some people could wait anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years. And so we're saying, in essence, that we have to take care of 97,000 people: food, shelter, clothing, education, the children, the entire combination, and it just continues to flow.
So how much are you asking for? What are you asking the government for? In terms of dollars, how much are you asking?
Well, in the 3 years, this is a $12 billion price tag. So far, we have $100 million, a little over $100 million that we received. This is their issue. This is a national issue, and it should be treated as such. And that's why the governor of Massachusetts stated should not be pushed on the states.
But I hear them say, Mr. Mayor, that, let's see, New York, I think, has gotten about $140 million more, they say, than any other city that's not a border city in this country. That there's only so much that they can do. What do you say to that?
Well, think about what happened in the last few months. We have created a funnel. All of the bordering states have now took the funnel right to New York City. New York City is the economic engine of this entire state and country. If you decimate this city, you're going to decimate the foundation of what's happening. Look at Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, and now you're hearing the governor of Massachusetts. And so when people say, well, we gave them $100 million, $12 billion bill?
Yeah.
I mean, what table are we dining at?
When you see all the people that are just laying in the streets, you walk by, it is jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
And the numbers keep coming and coming when you think, I don't have any more room at the end, so to speak.
Along with the unhoused people we already have here.
Exactly,
That's a very good point.
exactly. And think about the miracle that took place over the last year in April when this really started coming from a governor who wanted to use people as pawns. When you do an analysis of other cities, you did not see our migrant asylum seekers sleeping on the streets. You didn't see you don't see tent cities here. You don't see the cardboard boxes here. We made a major inroad on street homelessness. So what you saw at the Roosevelt a few days ago is because the dam finally burst. Yeah. The incoming was so much, and then there was a different population. We were dealing with South and Central Americans, Venezuelans. Now you're seeing people come from all over the globe to New York City.
You know, Mayor, in response to Tony's question, you said there's a lot of blame to go around. Yes. And there are some people that are placing the blame in your direction, and leaders of New York City. As more asylum seekers come, the more money is dedicated. And taxpayers are saying there's a better way to spend that money. What is your response to that?
Well, I think to the contrary. When I'm in the streets, people are saying, you know, hey, brother, you're doing your thing, you know. Not one child or family slept on the streets of the city of New York. That was our #1 mission. We can't have children out on the street. Now you have many, no matter what you do in life. I mean, this is New York, 8.8 million people, 35 million opinions. Everyone can sit in the bleachers and say, I should have thrown a better fastball. But come on this field.
Yeah, you know, yes, step on the mound.
Right. Every day we are juggling where we're going to find another place so that human beings don't sleep on the street. So that's real.
Yeah. A lot of empty office buildings, people say that's an obvious solution. What do you say?
And if we can, you know, we're still dealing with many different rules and laws. We're trying to get a conversion to housing, and we have been using we converted some office buildings. But here's the big thing that many people are not understanding. It costs money.
It costs money.
Okay, so, you know, hearing you talk, hearing your press conference yesterday, I think there are governors of, let's say, Florida and Texas who are saying, thank you, Mayor Adams. We've been saying this is a problem for a long time. All these border towns have been transformed by immigration, by an influx of people. Have you talked to those political leaders across the aisle about what a solution is? I mean, is there a joint press conference, joint pressure on the Biden administration?
Listen, did more than that, and the pressure should be on our national government, you know, and if we look at one side of the aisle and not the other side of the aisle, the national government must deal with real, true immigration reform and then deal with the crisis we're facing right now. Yeah. I didn't only talk to my colleagues.
You've been to the border.
Exactly. Yeah. I visited the border.
Did that change your perspective at all?
Oh, without a doubt. I saw what was happening, and I'm glad I visited at in the midway through this, because I knew my mission. When I saw children and families sleeping on the streets, around churches, in airports, I saw the tents. I said, I can't allow that to happen in New York. Now, we were fortunate up until the other day. But for the first time, we saw the spillover. But I cannot commit that's not going to happen again.
Have you talked to the president directly?
I was going to ask that, yeah.
We had a conversation last year. We communicated with the White House several times. We have a contingent from Homeland Security that's here now. Our congressional delegation has been amazing in how they have pushed this through. And there's a uniform belief. One, we should allow people to work. That would be a major system. We have thousands of jobs, and I want to say to New Yorkers and Americans, these migrants and asylum seekers that I spent the night in the migrant herc with, they don't want anything free from us.
Yeah,
they want to work.
Yeah, what about the criticism of you, Mr. Mayor, that you spend a lot of time, you're the party mayor, you spend a lot of time at Zero Bond, you spend a lot of time working out, that, yeah, you're doing a job, but you're also, the headline in the New Yorker the other day was Mayor Adams' administration a bluster. How do you respond to those criticisms?
Well, come on, this is New York. I'm the mayor of the most important city on the globe, and I got to boost. I got to boost a multi-billion-dollar nightlife industry that was dying through COVID. Every time I walk inside a restaurant, those cooks, those chefs, those waiters, those busboys and girls, that boosts the economy. My nightlife establishment is huge. But then look at our successes. I ran on bringing down crime, dropped homicides, gun shooters. It's my major category. We got a AA bond rating from Fitch. You'll see in 99% of our jobs we cover. You know,
so I see you're bothered by it.
Nate, you want to boost the nightlife industry with me this weekend?
We can do
Mayor
that.
needs the help.
Mayor, thank you for coming by. You're invited as always, and to keep your analogy of baseball going. We've seen the fastball. Maybe it's time for the changeup.
In our series, TikTok Famous, we highlight influential content creators who turn viral moments and internet fame into a career. Shawnee Tran is a licensed therapist and founder of the Shawnee Project. It's a provider of mental health services. So she went viral back in 2020 when she posted very candid videos, you could say, about what it's like to have a black therapist. Now her account has nearly 500,000 followers. Thank you very much. In a recent video, she used humor to show what would happen if therapists were honest about their thoughts during their first session. I've often wondered about this.
I can see why you're a little nervous in the first session, too. I'm nervous, too. I'm just nervous. I got anxiety myself. This ain't about me. This is about you. You came here today. Yes, I am rooting for you. You know, looking through this, it's a carbon copy of me. Wait, your father wasn't in your life? Me too. Shut up. For the question with how many people live in your household, you got 4 kids. I see why you're here. Girl, I got 2. Oh, sorry, this is not about me. I see that you are on the verge of tears. That's great. I think we are making a breakthrough and we're gonna be working together.
Shawnee Tran joins us now. Welcome. I often wonder, because I've been to therapy a couple times, more than a couple times, but once, Shawnee, the therapist fell asleep in the middle of while I was talking.
Stop it.
You got to step up your storytelling.
That's what I said. Stop it. I got my little things and just sort of crept out the office. So I often wonder what it's like.
Yeah, was that your story?
Yes. I wouldn't make that up. Yes.
Wow.
I wish I could name them, but I won't. But I often wonder what therapists are thinking about the patients when we're sitting there telling the story. But for you, this started, you thought, I'm going to do a little dance routine.
Yes.
And it turned into therapy.
Yeah.
How so? Why so?
You know, I just wanted to share with the world what it's like to go to therapy, what it's like to have a therapist. And I want to really humanize us because that's one of the most important things when it comes to someone being in the room with a therapist is being in the room with another human.
Yes, yes. Have you ever fallen asleep on a patient? I swear
No.
to God, I heard.
I don't know how you can.
Yeah.
No.
That was tough. That was tough. But go ahead.
On your profile, you say that TikTok is not therapy, and you want to make sure that you create that distinction.
Yes.
Why is it important to say that?
Because it's important because I don't know anything about the person that is watching me. So if you look at my videos and you take something from them, it's a conversation starter. When you're in the room with a therapist, you are doing all the talking. On social media, I'm doing all the talking. And I don't know anything about your symptoms. I don't know anything about your family life. So it's really meant to be a conversation starter.
That makes sense.
There's a thing where you say about having a black therapist, being a black therapist. Is there a difference between a black therapist and a white therapist?
Well, if I look at, for me, for my experience, I think about when George Floyd was murdered and how I had to compartmentalize. I think I didn't even process it for 3 weeks. My practice is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Wow. And literally, I didn't talk to my therapist about it. I was holding it all.
A therapist?
Yes. Yes, I do. Not right now, but I used to when my dog passed away. And so when I was talking to my clients about George Floyd's murder, I remember, like, at the end of my sessions crying.
Yeah, because you haven't dealt with it.
Because I haven't processed
You're dealing with everybody's emotions.
I was dealing with everyone else's emotions. And it was, for me, I was like, okay, I have to compartmentalize this. And I wasn't ready to process it until I would say probably about a year later.
What are your tips for finding the right therapist? And when does a person need a therapist as opposed to just buying a friend dinner and telling them all their problems?
Great question. Okay, so I think that a lot of people may think that, okay, depression, anxiety, I need a therapist. But there are so many other times that you may need a therapist. Maybe you're like, I don't know what I want to do with my career. Maybe you're thinking about having a baby. You're thinking about getting married. There are so many different things that aren't diagnosis. Like, I really want to drive that home. You don't just have to have a diagnosis. You're a person that's struggling in life, or maybe you're trying to figure yourself out.
Trying to make a pivot.
Talk it out.
Talk it out.
Although that diagnosis does help for the insurance reimbursement.
Listen.
Provide that piece of paper.
That's the medical
Another good
model.
point.
Something to file with insurance. Thank you very much. Let's pick one. All right. Shawnee Tran, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you.
Keltie Knight is also co-creator and co-executive producer of Superfan, and she joins us right now looking red hot in the outfit. What's up, girl?
I knew you would be dressed to the nines, so I'm just trying to get up to my Nate standard.
You're looking
Keltie,
good.
when you walked in, because Keltie did a little dance when she came in, and Nate goes, look at Keltie coming in hot.
Coming in hot, as always.
Always.
So let's talk about Superfan. How did you come up with the idea for it?
Well, my co-creator, Jody Roth, and I,
Shout out to Jody.
Jody, we had worked together. I'd hosted a lot of Grammy specials here on CBS with her, and it was my favorite night of the year. I'm married to a music manager. I love music. I was a backup dancer for like Taylor and Beyonce back in the day. Yes, and so I just wanted more music on television, and I wanted it to be a show where the people competing didn't need a talent. You can go on all the singing shows if you can sing, or go on the talent shows to light yourself on fire. But what about the people who it's just their talent is just loving and being a fan?
Right,
you saw it at the Taylor Swift concert
yes,
this, that's our job, and so this is for the fans.
But what I think is so great is that I think that the artist, because we got to see 2 episodes, well done, well done, well done. What I think is that the artist is so touched by how the fans feel, and then the fans get to have a connection with the artist. I've never seen that kind of relationship on TV, and it's not weird, because sometimes if a fan is so gaga, it gets a little weird and uncomfortable. This, you just see that they just genuinely care about the person, and the artist is very touched.
Yeah, and
how did you tap into that, Keltie? What were you thinking?
I just think that we searched the entire country. There was thousands of people trying to get on these shows. And we picked people, they had to know the music, they had to know the trivia, they had to know how to think like the star. But there had to be something about them, like their fanness had to be just like really, really special. And honestly, everyone was so cool, except Nate. Nate, when LL Cool J came out, it was like Nate, former NFL player in his 3-piece suit. Like, he just basically broke down into a little fanboy.
Yeah.
CBS,
I lost it.
CBS, you don't have any idea. Like, he was just like, yeah, you're my man, right? Like, he was so cute. He's blushing now.
Right. L came on the show a couple days ago. I did the same thing.
But, the thing is, it's more than just a fan going gaga. They get to play games.
Yes.
So they get to name that tune in, like, a split second.
Yes.
They nailed it. You put up a picture, and it's all blurry. They have to figure out what the picture is. These people really understand the people that they admire so much.
Oh, my gosh, on the Shawnee...
I love... It's very, very well produced. Very, very well done.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and there was a moment on the Shania Twain episode where there's just, like, this blob on the screen. It's a white blob.
Yes.
And Nate's like, okay, here we go. And it starts to get clear. And he brings it, and he's like, that's you at the Grammy Awards in 1994. And Nate walked over, put his glasses on. He said, you have super sight glasses? Like, what is happening?
Unbelievable.
That was a crazy moment.
What these fans know about their favorite artists.
So the winner is going to be crowned by America. It's going to be a vote process, right? And I guess Nate, as co-host, cannot win the LL Cool J episode, right?
I cannot,
He is a super fan.
I asked.
It's true. I think LL gave you, like, a nice sweater, right?
Yeah,
or
sweater.
something. He gave you like a hoodie.
Yeah.
No, America is voting. So we're voting live on Twitter. Thanks so much, Elon. 2 weeks before the show comes out. Excellent time. Okay. Twitter X. Twitter, you're going to use the hashtags. Hashtag SuperFanCBS, but then you're going to use the hashtags of our 2 finalists, and you're going to vote, and we're really tallying it in real time.
What do they win, though, Keltie?
Okay, so they win incredible prizes. For instance, with our Gloria Estefan episode, Gloria's going to fly you to Miami. She's going to put you up in... You did the same thing when we did the show.
That's an unbelievable prize. Listen to this.
She's going to fly you to Miami. She's going to put you up in one of the 2 hotels she owns there. On Saturday night, you're going to go to her house on Star Island, and she's going to cook you dinner with her and Amelia.
Whoa. LL Cool J.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's what I'm saying.
Lights out.
LL Cool J.
Prize was very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
get to listen to him recording in the studio, go down in his drop top on Pacific Coast Highway, go to his concert, backstage pass, kick it with him. It's unbelievable, the curated prize packages these artists put together for the fans.
Was it hard to get musicians? Because I think after they see this season, they're going to say, I want to be on Superfan. Put me on, don't you think?
I think the people that we got, I hope so. And Rihanna, we're ready. Nate and I are ready to welcome you to season 2 of Superfan. I think what was so special is the people that wanted to do this show really understood how important their fans are to their career.
Planet creative and executive producer Nathan W. Powell joins us now. Nathan, thank you very much for being here.
Tony, hopefully your flight will be free of fatalities.
I don't want to be in the peril row.
Yes.
Although I do like that leg room.
Exactly.
I was reading that the idea for this comic series began when you were cleaning up your apartment for a party, which usually involves like getting all your clutter away so people can use the place. And you're putting a toaster into a closet, and then eureka.
Yeah, it wasn't far from here, actually. Small apartment in New York City. Had to hide all of our possessions for a party, and we had a galley kitchen. We wanted to be able to have anyone go in the kitchen, so you have to hide things when your friends come over.
Yeah. Of course.
Realize that's part of life.
Yeah.
You have to make sure no one knows you have anything. and then all these ideas come to mind. You know, if you're viewing it from the outside, if you're defamiliarizing, it really does begin to seem strange, but it's part of what we all do together.
Yeah.
And it's warm.
Yeah.
You do it because you care about your friends.
Of course, of course.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
But you know what I like, Nathan? I like the Strange Planet lingo. Like, what is a group roll machine?
That's a bus.
What are foot tubes?
Oh, those would be socks.
Jitter liquid.
That's coffee.
Hard-footed run monster.
That might be a horse. Yes.
And mild poison.
And that would be any kind of alcohol.
Yeah, but see, that's part of the fun. And when people are kissing, what are they doing?
They're mouth pushing, yeah.
Yes, they're mouth pushing.
Yeah.
This is what I think is so fun. And we should say your lovely wife, Taylor, is here.
Yeah.
I see her name on the credits.
Yeah.
So what is the thinking behind how you all come up with the ideas and the language that you use? It's so clever, so creative, and so well done.
Oh, it's a celebration of humans, really. Confetti is tiny
Not humans,
trash.
beings.
Yeah, sorry. Well, the beings are really kind of an analog for humans.
Okay.
So when humans created confetti, it was really just throwing trash in the air. That was so sweet because before that was just trash. But now it's a way to celebrate someone. You have ticker tape parades. It's really just throwing trash out the window.
Yes.
But that's a beautiful thing that humans do for each other. A sustenance preserver is a refrigerator.
Right.
And that preserves what sustains us.
Yes.
It's an important
No, it all
machine.
makes sense the way you do it because what I like about this show is that you're celebrating us as people.
Sure.
Criticizing us, but also celebrating, criticizing, but also rejoicing about how we are and who we are.
Oh, yeah. No, my thought is there has to be more planets like this out there. The latest images of deep space, the way I think of it is there have to be some socks in that image. If you could zoom in close enough, someone out there is wearing socks.
Yes.
I know that's true.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
This process of defamiliarizing, you know, looking at something through the alien eyes, are you doing that all the time? And if so, how does that affect the likelihood of mouth pushing with your wife? Does she ever say, just stop, let's be familiar, let's...
Well, we have two young children, a toddler and a 2-month-old. And you're explaining the world to them all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful. My daughter just now likes spooky music. She likes Phantom of the Opera. It's a wonderful moment when you realize minor chords make us feel a certain way. This feels spooky, and you can explain that to your child.
Yeah.
And that's life.
You actually drew us on Strange Planet.
I did.
Do we have that available? Can we see that? That's us right there. I see me on the left with the glasses. Gayle with the accessory on. She's always rocking something around her neck.
Necklace. Wow.
And look at Tony, just looking handsome as usual.
Tony has on socks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did that because you're always putting your chin on your hands like that.
Yeah, it's the thinker's pose.
It is. Yeah. We watch every day. I'm
serious.
I watch you every day.
Well, we really appreciate that.
We do. Thank you for
that. And we thank you. But how do you decide on the look for the aliens? Because I think that even they are cute.
Well, I think we look cute from far away.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea. In my mind, if there are species out there much larger than us, when they look down on us, they probably notice that we're all roughly the same size. And we're all probably just wearing a few accessories.
Yeah.
That's probably how we look to them.
Yeah, and we're pretty puny underneath it all.
And we're pretty small.
Pretty fragile, too.
Part of the fun, too, about this show is the voices that you get to do characters. I love that.
Tremendous
Playing the guessing game of who's who. What's it like to go from the strip, to TV?
Oh, boy.
I think that's
Well,
so
the
cool
strip
for you
had
guys.
I was making these strips. They have an average of 35 words per strip.
Yeah.
But, a screenplay is like 25 pages for a half hour. So I needed a lot of help, and there's a tremendous talent in the writing room. Dan Harmon guided me, Steve Levy guided me. There was
Nothing
a lot
you
of
can't
learning.
handle Nathan W. Pyle, and W stands for what?
William.
Nathan William. Okay, I like that.
I thought it was weird.
The comic is fantastic. The show is terrific.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
It's great.
on it.
It's
I'm
great.
very glad it exists. I'm very glad you
too.
exist. Keep defamiliarizing.
I
Strange
will.
Planet is streaming on Apple TV Plus right now.
It's a smart show.
Turning now to our next guest, who has been called America's storyteller-in-chief. Award-winning author James McBride has written 8 books, including his New York Times best-selling memoir, The Color of Water.
Yes.
His novel, The Good Lord Bird, was developed into a limited series starring actor Ethan Hawke. His latest novel is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. It's about the power of community after a Jewish grocer takes in a black deaf orphan named Dodo. James McBride joins us now. Good morning, James. How you doing?
Good, good. Very good.
Well, thank you for joining us.
You should be feeling good because this book is fantastic.
It's fantastic, and it grabs you from the beginning.
Yes, it does.
It really does wrap you in.
Does.
So the Heaven and Earth Grocery isn't just the book's title. It's also the store owned by 2 of the main characters, which is Moshe and Chona.
Right.
So why is the name so significant?
Well, it's a symbol of what they're trying to communicate, what these people try to do, which is to try to make their community better. So it was just the name of the store given by Shona's father. And this store is located, the Jewish owners of a grocery store in a black section of town called Chicken Hill. And so it's really about the relationship that the store owners have with the community that's around them.
So the book opens with a body found in a well. I'm not giving anything away here, right? There's a mystery at the opening, and then you meet the community. You go back in time and you meet this community, the community of Chicken Hill, and it's a big community. Like, you meet a lot of characters. You seem to really enjoy spending time here. What was it about this?
And the characters' names too. Let's talk, you know, like you've got Big Soap, you've got Miggy, you've got Little Son of Man, you've got. I mean, all the characters have all these very interesting names. That's also part of the intrigue, I think.
So did this all come to you in one lightning flash, or what was it about this place in your imagination that made you want to spend so much time there?
Well, I'm trying to come up with a right answer that's not going to make my brothers and sisters laugh at me, because I know they're watching. So, I mean, your imagination is what, you know, your characters inspire your imagination.
Of course.
And so you set a conflict in place, and in a normal world, you set a conflict in place, and then this conflict pushes people to the right and left. I mean, we just saw the thing about the burglar. I mean, you know, a conflict, a guy breaks into a house, the dog goes happy, and suddenly you have a, you know, you have a situation.
Right.
And as a writer, you extrapolate all of these things from these various characters.
But it's also, you focus a lot on disabled people. That is a personal thing for you. You were trying to figure out a way to tell this kind of story because 2 of the main characters, Monkey Pants, that's another funny name, Monkey Pants and Dodo, the relationship between the 2 of them. Why was telling this particular story important to you?
Well, I worked at a camp for disabled kids when I was in college. And I was inspired by, I mean, just the word disabled doesn't really describe, you know, so-called disabled.
Yes.
But their ability to communicate, what they taught me and the staffers at the camp, were lessons I never forgot. Which is that, you know, there are they have thousands of thoughts. They have everything inside them works.
Yes.
And the covers just doesn't matter. So I wanted the friendship. I wanted to communicate how I witnessed the friendship of so-called disabled children and how it transcends anything we can imagine.
You captured that so beautifully. I can't wait for people to read it to see the journey between the 2 of them and how it turns out. You also captured the black community and the Jewish community so well.
Yeah.
How are you able to do?
Trying to hold on to tradition.
Same but different.
Trying to blend in.
Right. Well, you know, the journey is very similar. And, you know, during the 20s and 30s when blacks and Jews lived together because, you know, because economic and social forces forced them to live together, that was a relationship that was very close and in many ways very successful. And I experienced that myself because of my own background, my mother's background and so forth. Growing up my mother grew up in the South, she was Jewish. So I've always wanted to explore that in ways that were healthy and funny and informative.
No, mission accomplished. Before, we have to say this man doesn't own a TV. Do you know who we are? I'm Gayle. That's
Tony.
Nate.
How are you?
That's Tony. He does not own a TV. And you also say that you were probably the worst black person dancing. You said you would probably lose your black card because.
Well, yeah. Well, I danced one thing.
Hey, James, say it ain't so.
You said you should be barred from all dancing.
You got a two-step in you.
Well, I'm working on it.
By the way, I can introduce you to an instructor.
Well, I think
Jessica
books are safer. Yeah, safer.
But you're also a musician. That's why I thought it was very nice that he and Jon Batiste got to, you know him. You're also a musician. You play the saxophone?
Play saxophone, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wrote a movie with Spike Lee, and Jon Batiste did some of the music.
Yeah.
He's a deep talent.
Yeah.
And a very nice person.
He's a different kind of dude.
Yeah. So I'm, that's why I don't have a TV. I'm always busy. You know, music and writing keeps me.
But are you okay not having a TV? I can't imagine. I'm fascinated by this. Well, I am fascinated.
I mean, you have a phone, though, right? Like a smartphone?
Yeah. I have a phone.
So he's got a screen in his pocket. What do you hope people...
Go ahead.
Forgive me for throwing in a book question.
Okay.
But I am curious. I mean, what do you hope people take away from this book? At a time when the black and the Jewish community, the relationship is not what it was in the 20s and 30s.
Well, I hope people take away equality, that we're all equal, and that our journey's the same.
Yeah.
And that, we're much more alike than we are different.
So true.
Of course.
Yeah, I've heard you say, James, love is a magical ingredient, and it's fun to get along.
That's right.
That's right, and it's easy.
Well said.
And it's easy, yes.
And James, well done with the book. It's not easy to take people to a certain time frame and then immerse them into the world and the characters. Yes. You absolutely nailed it. Again.
If a new rectangular box shows up at your doorstep, it's your TV. We send it to you.
And it's from the CBS Mornings family. James McBride, we appreciate you.
Good morning, Jon. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Yay.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
The FedEx Cup playoffs have, according to this note I have right here, $75 million in prize money, and if you win it all, you would personally get $18 million. Ooh. Is that a lot of money, and how you feeling about winning?
Yeah, it's quite a bit of change. It's quite a bit of change. Obviously, it's a lot of money. Try not to focus at the end, right at the end point. There's still a lot of weeks ahead, and to come into the playoffs as number one of the Comcast Tour business, business tour top 10, it's very special, right? I haven't been in this position before, and I pride myself in being a consistent player. So to do it all year long has been very special. So hopefully now, being in this position, I can finish it off.
You know, golf is a very hard game, and you often make it look very easy. How you been pulling that off this year?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. You know, my pro career, I've been very consistent. I've played really good golf. It's nothing special that I have done this year. A lot of it, if you talk to my wife, was becoming a father. I don't know. It gives you a little bit of superpowers, if you wish, and then
I like that.
You know, just having faith on the process, just having faith on the process. And I started off on fire this year, getting 2 wins in a row, and was able to keep it going.
Gosh, I love what you just said, Jon, about being a father becomes a superpower. I so agree with you. But I'm wondering about you, because you are considered the man to beat. You're in the #1 position. How do you handle the pressure of all the people gunning for you, and what's your process to get through it?
You know, it's very hard to explain golf being a little bit different, right? Yes, we're competing against each other, but it's not really head-to-head like in pretty much every other sport, right? So I still have to focus on what I have to do more than what other players may be doing. And that's what makes golf a little bit different, right? It's me against me, and all I can control is what I do. I can't control what other people do. So if I do what I know I can do at the highest level, that's going to give me the best chance. I wish I could give you a more I wish I could give you a more exciting answer, but it really is as simple as that.
That's good. Me against me, and I'm going to bet on me. I like it. I like it.
All right, Jon, I want to talk about the LIV Golf Tour a little bit. And the PGA Tour is under fire for announcing a potential deal with the Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, one of the biggest benefactors of the LIV Tour. Where do you stand on this? Because I know you said that you don't have any intentions of joining the LIV Tour.
No, as in right now I don't. Besides where the capital comes from, I just don't like the format of golf they're playing right now. It's hard to say where you stand on one thing or the other, right? For those watching that don't know me, I'm a golf historian. I'm a golf traditionalist. So apart from the money purses with the PGA Tour elevated to match the live purses, there's something special when you win tournaments, especially like the one we're competing in this week, right? The FedEx St. Jude, where they have so much involvement with the St. Jude Hospital as well, right? So there's a lot more going on a week like this than Live Golf has to offer at this point. It's more than just golf. It transcends the sport a little bit. So that to me is very, very important. Building a legacy is very, very important. I think the PGA Tour is the best spot to do it right now. So that's where my mind is at.
Wow, that's very powerfully put, Mr. Rahm. On a less important matter, but important to me personally, I'm just back from vacation. We played mini golf as a family. I took the loss to my wife, Katie. My putts were not going in a straight line and into the cup. Do you have any advice for folks like me who want to beat their wife at putt-putt?
At putt-putt.
Yes, don't beat your wife. That's all I can say. Let her win. Yeah, I don't think I will dare to beat her on
How can I be a better golfer is what I'm asking.
I would let her win as well.
You let her win? Oh, yeah, okay.
That's right, John.
You know, it requires a lot of time, but I'm guessing all of you right now are really good at what you do because you spend a lot of time doing it. So it required a significant investment in golf and probably lacking off in other departments to be able to do it.
All right. That's right. Happy wife, happy life.
A little putting mat in the studio between breaks. You can hit a few putts, you know, make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
You guys listening to John?
Yes.
All right.
I like what you're thinking.
Happy life.
I also like the idea that I
Very
let
good
Katie
husband.
win. I let her win. Jon Rahm, thank you very much. That's right.
We are very happy to say that Ariel Zapia joins us in the studio. There she is, live and in color. Hello, Ariel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So you're 15 now, but at 14, what did you see? Because I'm trying to think of most 14-year-olds. We're talking about going to Taylor Swift. We're talking about going to Beyonce. We're not talking about, you know, what can we do about the homelessness? What did you see that struck a chord with you that you said, I got to do something?
Yeah, so there were so many different factors that went into the creation of Project Y, but the most prominent one is just that I began listening to how people were discussing homelessness and how it was being addressed.
What were they saying that caught your attention?
They were just really focusing on the only information out there, which was outdated statistics, and that was just consistently perpetuating the same stigmas about individuals experiencing homelessness, that they were crazy, that they were drug addicts, that they were dirty. And I held on to these same fears before starting Project Y as well, because there was just no information out there. So I realized that in order for us to genuinely understand individuals experiencing homelessness and the overall experience of homelessness, we needed to learn it from those experiencing it.
So what did you learn?
So the biggest thing for me was just that we needed to talk to people, and I've learned so much throughout this entire experience. I've learned about homelessness, and I think really the biggest takeaway is that one wrong move truly can cause anyone to experience homelessness.
You know, there is misconceptions out there.
Exactly.
And there's these assumptions. You walk past someone and your friend may stop you and say, no, don't give them any money.
Yeah.
They are there because they made the wrong decisions, or they might be addicted to drugs. And if you give them money, they're going to spend it on something that they don't need to. And you mentioned it a little bit. And if you can share stories, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. But what are some of the stories that you've heard after sitting down with people and listening to how they ended up in those situations?
Yeah, so I have heard stories from completely opposite sides of the spectrum. I've spoken to people who grew up homeless, their family was homeless, or maybe they didn't have a family, and that just continued their experience of homelessness. But I've also spoken to other people who had a college education, had a stable income, had a job, had a family, had everything that you would expect of someone who would never experience homelessness. Yet they both went into the exact same situation and the exact same experience of homelessness. So it really can happen to anyone.
Nate touched on a really, I think, important moment that many people who are not homeless experience, where you walk by somebody who's destitute, who seems to be in trouble, and you have to decide, do you give, or do you give it to somewhere else, or do you not give it all? So when people are in that moment, do you advise giving directly to a person, or are there other better ways to help?
Honestly, I think it's up to your own decision, but I think the biggest thing is if you're not comfortable giving directly to a person, at least give a smile. I think that's one of the biggest things when I've spoken to people. they just say that they're completely ignored. They don't get a smile. They don't get anything.
But for you, were you afraid when you were approaching? You would just, I want to know your technique. Would you just walk up and just start talking, and were you afraid?
Yes, so I definitely was afraid. I've grown up in Orange County, and I've been surrounded by homelessness for my entire life. And up to the creation of Project Y, and even in the beginning, I was terrified. It was really scary, but I wanted to make a difference, so I went over that fear. But in terms of interviewing, I mostly just partner with organizations that serve our unhoused neighbors, and then they can volunteer. So I have yet to just go up to people on the streets. Otherwise, people on TikTok, I'll find them and then reach out to them. But you're getting the information.
Yes. What does Y stand for, Ariel?
Y stands for both aspects of Project Y's mission. So the first is we hear you. We hear you. And that is letting our unhoused neighbors know that they have a safe space to share their stories and that we hear them. And the second aspect is that we're able to use those stories to then teach the rest of society about why. Why people experience homelessness, why it's so prevalent.
And you are 30 what? You are 15, working on a book.
Yes.
Working on a book.
Yes.
Yeah, we really appreciate you being here. It's great work that you're doing. Ariel, Pia, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And when you run for president, please come by again.
I do just have one quick thing. I am working on a book, Unhoused and Unheard, and that will come out this fall on Amazon. So you can go on Project Y's website and sign up on the interest form that will be up in just a minute so that you can be notified.
Oh, she has it down.
There you go. All right. Got the plug down.
Yeah, got the plug down.
We'll be right back.
Right,
hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah, hold up.
Escalating fight over diversity in business. It involves the Fearless Fund, which is the first venture capital fund built by women of color for women of color. According to the fund, just 0.39% of venture capital funding goes to businesses started by women of color. The Fearless Fund was founded in 2019 to help close that gap by providing funding and support to Black female founders.
But now it's facing a lawsuit by the American Alliance for Equal Rights. That's a group founded by the conservative activist who was behind the effort to end affirmative action in college admissions. Now, this suit alleges that the fund's Fearless Strivers Grant Contest is, quote, their words, a racially discriminatory program that blatantly violates the Civil Rights Act's guarantee of race neutrality because its $20,000 grant prizes are only open to Black women. We are joined now by Fearless Fund co-founder and CEO. Her name is Ariane Simone. This is her first interview since a lawsuit was filed against her company. Good morning to you, Ariane Simone. Good to have you here at the table.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what was your first thought when you heard that you and your partners were being sued?
My initial thought, I didn't think that this was real, but once I realized that it was, I was aware that it was definitely an attack to dismantle and address our economic freedom as people of color. But I knew the moment it happened that we would continue to do the amazing work that we do.
You didn't think it was real. What did you think it was? What did you think?
When the emails came through, I honestly thought it was ChatGPT.
You did?
Yeah.
You thought maybe you were being punked somehow.
Yes.
So now that you know that it is real, what's your response? What are you all planning to do?
Oh, our response is simple. We plan to continue to do the work that we do for women of color. As you stated before, women of color are the most founded entrepreneurial demographic. They are just the least funded.
Why do you think that is? I mean, when I read the number, Ariane, I thought I was reading it wrong because the number was so low. Less than 1%.
Yes, fraction of a percent.
Yes.
I think even beyond racism and sexism, there is something called proximity. The investors in the venture capital field, 92% of them are white male. I'm a strong believer that if we can diversify the investors, we can diversify the investments.
Now, we mentioned that number, 0.39%, and some may listen and say, well, that's something. But according to the fund, in 2022, capital firms deployed $288 billion. So that fraction of 1%, it doesn't make sense when it comes to Black women being funded. I never really understood how someone who had a head start in the race would look at those behind them and try to trip them up. What is your message to those that are looking to trip you up?
Oh, our message is clear. Our corporate partners stand by us. MasterCard, Bank of America, Ally Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and many others.
What have you heard from them?
Oh, we've been in touch with all of our investors. They stand by their DEI programs. They stand by their commitments that they've made post-George Floyd to the Black community. They are in agreement with the work that they have done and the work they are doing with us.
Aaron, what do you, however admirable what do you say to people who say, look, however admirable your goal, however necessary the work you're doing, the law is just not on your side. The law says racial discrimination is bad in all contexts.
And then people argue it still is not fair.
Well, it's definitely, I would say, unfortunate that things can be twisted. I can't get into the details of the lawsuit, but what I can say that certain laws were definitely put in place to offer economic freedom for people of color, and somehow things can be getting misconstrued.
What are you hearing? Oh, go ahead, Tony.
I was just going to say that the part of the reason why this conservative activist Edward Bloom is pursuing this is because he just won this big affirmative action case. Right. In which he got a ruling from the Chief Justice, written by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, in which he says eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. This kind of program that you have, quote, demeans the dignity and worth of a person to be judged by ancestry instead of merit.
Well, the problem is this program wouldn't even exist if there wasn't a need for it. The reason why the program exists is due to the racial disparities that exist in venture capital.
What are you hearing, or what have you done for the businesses? What do the businesses say that you've invested in so far? Because, Arian, when I heard $20,000, I went, well, that may not seem like a lot of money, but it can be a game changer, can it not? For some of these female businesses. Yes.
Most definitely. At our foundation, we have awarded over 356 grants, sizes between $10,000 and $20,000. And yes, that's definitely a game changer. It helps with cash flow management, it helps with product creation, it can launch job creation, and much more. But in addition to our grants, we are also investors at our Fearless Fund, our investment vehicle. We have deployed over $26.5 million, invested in 41 companies. Average check sizes between $500,000 and $1.2 million. Most definitely, this capital is making an impact.
Too bad you're not prepared with the receipts. What your company
She
does.
got the receipts, Gayle.
Yeah, I see. And it's more than just black women, isn't it?
That is correct. We invest in women
of
color. So we have Latina founders, Asian founders, yes.
And it's not just financial assistance. There's also tools that you give. So what advice do you give to women of color that are thinking about taking that leap? Because, you know, that jump can be scary, especially if you don't know where you're going to land.
Most definitely. It's not just a lack of access to capital. It's a lack of access to resources and the ecosystem as a whole. And we have our annual tentpole event that takes place on August 18th in Atlanta, Georgia, our Fearless Venture Capital Summit. And there we educate over 2,000 women of color co-founders on how to grow and scale their business.
Is there a part of you that's worried about the lawsuit? Because, listen, I don't care who you are. You hear the word lawsuit, and it does give you pause.
And it's expensive to fight a lawsuit.
Yes, yes.
Most definitely, which is why we are definitely getting the support of others through fearlessfreedomnow.org. People can join the fight with us. But am I scared? No, I am fearless.
Ooh. You clearly are going to fight this lawsuit. You're going to win this lawsuit?
Oh, most definitely.
All right. Aaron Simone, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.